I'm approaching putting out a book is not only the book, but I'm gonna do audio. I'm gonna do like an album. So I got the first chapter right now in the form of an album with different music. Bianca played 2 of her songs, and she's playing the piano, classical music. And we have our television show, and that's just where we talk about things that are like, you know, socially relevant based on my experience. And, you know, Kiana was my barber in LA. And, you know, barbers, it's funny, I always get along with barbers because they're entrepreneurs. They always have their own shop, and they always have to run a business. And I had a barber shop though. Me and Dookie and Cam, you asked them about that one day on 112th Street. But because they're like entrepreneurs, you always speak to them levelly. You know, I always speak to them. It's not about how much you got, it's about what you got here. And he's always had smart and insightful conversation. And he'd always come from the barbershop with all that dumb barbershop shit. Yeah. And I just used to crack up. And he used to think it was funny that I thought it was funny because everyone thought I was stressing. But he cut me in the mansion, you know, all this kind of stuff. And we just decided to start taping it. And I advised him maybe do a book. So he went and did his own book. He got a movie, Secret to Ballin', and all these other things. So it just kind of, you know, we just resonated, and it's everywhere. So it's the way I give impactful information on how you could do it the way I did it independently and who to watch out for. Like the guys like Leo Cohen and Joey IE and Alan Grumblatt from Koch and Barry Clawberg. Like, I'm not scared of these people. Yeah. I do real business. They not real business. They're small change. They light pockets. You know, they're clowns to me. Leo's a funny guy to me. You know, I've been to business. I do business. I have to stop all that fake business, music business stuff. It's trying to make my culture think you better because you're using somebody else's dough. But anyway, in the book, I'm going to call out all, you know.
All that in the book, right?
Yeah. You can ask me a question about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I want to talk about because, you know, I'm not saying I'm mad. I'm saying that the reason why I know there's a lot of questions, but the most impactful questions are the ones to protect the culture, the people that are hurting us. The people like Leo that rape you and take a 360 deal from you and make you separate from your people that are protecting you. And then 20 years later, when you don't have nothing, they turn their back on you. And they don't have no excuse or explanation for it. I think they need to be questioned. And that's what's in the book. I'm sick of all this. I'm not even in this game no more. I play a different game. It just was so funny to me while I was here how much fuckery is going on. Like how many people that aren't from our culture are acting like we need these people. We don't need, I'm not talking about black or white. Culture is a way of living every day. It's being like-minded. It's just a way of being. It's a music. It's a religion. It's everything. And so many people that are not from it, I see cool people asking squares what to do. The minute I see somebody cool asking a square what to do, he's not cool no more. And I've seen that a lot. So that's why I'm like, I thought you was cool. You kissing this lame's ass because he could cut you a check and it's not even his money. So that's what the Culture Vulture book is about.
From my own observation, all of Dane's business ventures seem to run smooth on the day-to-day. But just like any entrepreneur, ups and downs are a normal part of business. The only difference is that some people focus on the problem, while others look beyond the problem for the solution. I asked him about some of the obstacles he faced while building his career, and this is what he had to say. Check it out.
One of the greatest rules that I live by is to never give power to anything outside myself. I don't focus on obstacles. To me, there is no such thing. I mean, at 20 years old, what obstacles is there when you're living your dreams? I was so successful in my 20s that there could never be any obstacles. Like, just being able to pay my bills at that age was a big deal. There's no losing when you're trying to come up. At 25, I was running a $500 million company, and it was something that was independently funded. Even right now, there's no obstacles in what I'm doing. Business means problems. That's what business means. There's no business without problems. If there is business without problems, it's not business, and it's definitely not a successful business. A boss's job is to fix problems and untie knots while staying calm in pressure situations. To me, that's the difference between a good boss and a bad boss. Then it's all about who works the hardest, who stays the coolest, and who can strategically fix any problem while making sure that the people around them are confident, even when problems exist. Being a great boss is also connected to consistency and who makes the most profit. That also describes the best business. Looking back at what allowed us to obtain major success at such a young age was the fact that we all had different roles, where each one of us played our position well. I mean, all Jay had to do was rap. That's all I needed from him. When it came to drawing up plays and running the day-to-day at Roc-A-Fella, that was my responsibility. All Biggs had to do was keep telling us about the fly shit in the street. He gave us that taste level. So we all played our position. It was my job to hustle hard, and that's it. And not to let anybody in the room out-hustle me, period. I always killed the food I ate in front of my crew, so they could also learn how to eat the food they killed. My job was to lead by example. I'm never gonna send somebody to do something I wouldn't do myself. I'm frontline white ritual, and that's that. That's what it's supposed to be. In a funny way, I guess I motivate them. But where I am now, I feel like if I gotta motivate you too much, then I don't need to be dealing with you. If you're a partner, I'll coach you, and if that doesn't work, I'll use my own scare tactics. I'm from the street where you make examples out of people. In the street, that's detrimental towards survival, whether it be jail, getting robbed or killed. When you come from hustling on the block, you can't show any signs of weakness, because if you do, someone will run off with your work. So you gotta stay strong and handle things accordingly no matter what. So from that mentality into the business world, I had to change my method of scare tactic by doing the next best thing, by embarrassing the shit out of you, by laughing you out, which was really what most people were afraid of when they dealt with me anyway. My method was never violence, or that I was just gonna come in kicking ass. It was that I was just gonna laugh at you until you felt like shit, until you needed a therapist. I would laugh at them in front of whoever thought they were cool, and that's what people feared the most when it came to me. It wasn't anything about the violence, it was only the laughter. So like I said, one of my main tactics is laughter. And then once in a while, when I start losing money, that's when the yelling tactic kicked in, to instill fear. And that's usually the move I make when I can't fire you. Sometimes you have to scare people into doing the right thing, especially when you're putting up the money or representing the people putting up the money, which is another reason where all my overcompensation was coming from. Anytime you would see me yelling, I was yelling because I wasn't putting up the money. You see, when you're putting up the money, you never have to yell about anything. What you say goes because you're putting up the money. If someone tells me they don't want to do it my way, I politely tell them, you're fired. That's it. It's not even gonna fuck my day up. But if somebody else is in control and I have to solicit it and I have to convince them and it's not even their money, that definitely becomes aggravating. Especially when the person never put up $1 of his own money in his life trying to tell me what to do. That's when the fear tactics come in. The way I used to motivate people that weren't family was fear. Again, fear of embarrassment, fear of me punking them, anything to get them to make the moves I needed them to make. That was how I got things done for many years. That style was also a good way to keep the other people that worked for me in line. I couldn't have the people that worked for me watch me being told what to do. A boss doesn't get told what to do. That doesn't happen in my world. A boss doesn't ask. A boss might tell you something out of courtesy, but a boss doesn't have to do anything. He's putting up the dough. Another thing that was always an issue when I had a corporate partner was they were always trying to approach my staff or belittle me in front of my staff. And I thought that was foul, especially when it was coming from the people who weren't putting up any money at all. People that were overcompensating because they could get fired, acting like they were cooler than they were because they had a job. But you can't act like you're cool when you have a job. I don't think having the ability to get fired or laid off is cool. Like, anyone in my staff that works with me always has the ability to be my partner in some way. So it's not like they just work for me. I mean, they gotta pay their bills, and that gives them the opportunity to be creative and also experience being a boss by monetizing what they do. At that point, they get access to all my resources, so it becomes about the effort or lack of. So I'm never gonna just hire people and I'm just gonna be their boss. We have to be partners in some capacity because I can't have people working around me and I'm dissing people that have jobs all day. That would make my crew feel crazy. So they have to have the ability to be my partners in something. And every single person that works with me is my partner in some way, shape, or form. Whether or not they are taking things to a monetizable level or not, we have to have equally create and build something that we equally own together. That's the only way I do things. Like, I had a meeting with someone the other day. I'm not gonna say their name or who they work for, but they were telling me they worked for a certain person for like 18 years, and I was like, well, do you own a piece of the company? And they said no. I was like, well, I know they just sold their company. Did they break you off a check or give you a little piece? And they said no. And that was crazy to me because I've never sold a company and didn't break off my staff. That would never happen. Go talk to my staff or anyone that ever worked with me. They'll tell you when I receive a check, they're gonna get a check. I always spread it around. Working without owning a piece of a company really just doesn't make sense to me. What are you gonna pass to your children?
Yo, the sacrifices I had to make as a young entrepreneur while building my salon were real. At one point, I stopped wasting money on sneakers, clothes, clubs, and even the dating scene so I could invest every dime back into my shop. But once the money started coming in, those were some of the best times of my life. Word up. My shoe game got real, and even my dating game was at an all-time high. Dane further talked about his best experiences in the music business, including the moment that he knew things were real for himself, Jay, and Biggs. Check it out.
Beginning at Roc-A-Fella, everything that happened was a good time. The first time in anything positive always feels good. The first time I got a record deal, that shit felt good because I was 19 years old. The first time I had a record played on the radio was a big deal. Yo, when we won Battle of the Beats, that was ill. The first time we did anything was good. When we used to do Battle of the Beats, I would have an office full of people calling in. At the time, I didn't look at it like it was cheating because I needed that win. Back then, Battle of the Beats was a big deal. The first time Flex dropped bombs on our record was a big deal. The first time we heard our record in the tunnel was a big deal. The first time we went gold off a single was a big deal. The first time I sold the company and got that extension, and then I stuck my middle finger up during the corporate picture, and they was like, "We just cut you a big check. How can you do that?" And I was like, first of all, you fucking work for Universal. I earned what I just got. You ain't cut nothing. That was based on a formula. You didn't even want to cut that check. Back then, that all felt good, including now, like being on Pitchfork for the first time felt good. And that really felt good because I didn't know what the fuck Pitchfork was until I got on it. Again, the first time in anything positive always feels good. Having a company that's 100% independently funded feels good. That feels really, really good. It feels good now because I don't have to worry about anyone funding any one of my companies, not one of them, and I got a couple. And it feels really good to be able to survive without compromising my quality of living. But knowing that I'm going from being corporately funded to being 100% independent, consciously making that choice, that feels really good. Like being a real boss, being a real man feels really good. Having balls feels really good. Like having them shit swinging, no disrespect, having nuts feels really good. I don't know what it feels like to be nutless. Would you hand over your nuts for 20 million? I know I wouldn't. I've been seeing people just give them shits up, pause, for way less. I used to be like, damn, this nigga just gave up his nuts for no reason, pause. But back to first times. I still pop bottles for everything I accomplish. Every first time is a bottle popping experience, especially now. I'm only looking for first times. I love first times. I love it. Overall, I feel great. I've helped people achieve exactly what I told them they were going to achieve. They're exactly what I said they were going to be. I was right again. I feel good. I think it's great. I feel like it's a testament to what I do, especially when it comes to Jay and Kanye. That shit is the best feeling in the world because I know that the people I put in business 10 years ago are still on top, and it's probably because I haven't been in that business in a minute. When I feel like coming back to rap, I will, and it'll be on my terms. And it will probably be with somebody that's been on top 10 to 15 years after they started. I created their business models. I developed them. Always keep a good publicist on you. Keep being consistent. Work harder than everyone. Be good at what you do and be an individual, period. Basically, if you keep a full staff of publicists on you at all times, you'll always stay in the news. It just costs a couple of dollars.
Dane further explained why consistency is an important piece to staying on top.
Consistency is everything in business. That's how a brand is defined, and building a brand takes time. You have to keep making moves over and over and over again until people feel comfortable with buying your brand. All brands have to stand for something. People have to affiliate what you're selling with something cool. If you're a barber, you know that consistency means everything in the barbershop. You can't give someone a good cut one time and a bad cut another. When you cook, you can't just be a good chef one day and not a good chef the next. Consistency is important in every aspect of the planet. In your relationships, your demeanor has to stay consistent for comfort. Even for a child, you have to be consistent. Children need consistency to one day become consistent adults. Everyone needs consistency on certain levels. It's important to have that kind of balance, no matter what. It's the foundation of a balanced life.